Greetings and welcome to another edition of Fill Your Own Void, the podcast. Again, it's Fill Your Own Void, the podcast, where we'll be discussing topics that's near and dear to you and yours, as well as topics that's near and dear to me and mine. First, let me introduce myself to those of you who don't know me. My name is Chuck Rose, and I'm the author of Personally Improving Mental Performance and Access to Success. And I'll be your partner on our journey to becoming our own life coaches and navigating our path to enlightenment and increased quality of life. And success by our own definition. Again, I'll be your partner on our pathway to becoming our own life coaches. We talked a little bit about, folks bringing in, these coaches, mental coaches and life coaches and success coaches to any organization, whether it's sport, whether it's corporate, whatever it is. And they'll pay them a lot of money. We'll subscribe to them personally and individually. We'll stream them. And I mentioned to you that these folk do not need anybody to fill their own void. They don't need anything from outside. It comes from within. So what from within is without, because your exterior is just a mirror image of your interior. Again, we want you guys to send in the questions for this podcast. It's not just going to be me and the contents from the book. This is not a motivational speaking and life coaching type of thing. We're going to do a lot of things. And I got a special, special edition here. I talked to you about all the endowments, professional, mental, spiritual, financial, and all of the other things that we enjoy, sports, all of those things. And we're going to talk a little bit about this sports thing in this podcast. I know I talked about on previous episodes that we'll be having sports icons on. I know many of you probably didn't believe me, but I think I got you on this one. We do want you to continue to follow us on Fill Your Own Void, the podcast with Chuck Rose on Spriker.com. Again, this is Fill Your Own Void, the podcast on Spriker.com. That's SPREAKER.com. You can find us on all of the major YouTube channels and all those major social media platforms. All you got to do is search Fill Your Own Void. But again, this is our podcast, not my podcast. So please send those topics of discussion in to fillyourownvoid@gmail.com. Again, it's fillyourownvoid@gmail.com. We talked about he who knows himself or is enlightened, and he who knows others is clever. Again, I'll repeat that. He who knows others is clever, but he who knows himself is enlightened. And we want to become enlightened. I'm not going to go back through all of the earlier podcasts. There's only been 3 or 4 thus far, so we're all new to this thing. But I'll just, kind of bring some folks up to speed that's not joined. We talked about tomorrow's new day, and yesterday really did end last night. We talked a little bit about the set of twins that both grew up to the same alcoholic abusive father. And we talked about the game of life having no gender or ethnicity. And folks just play it so well, it makes it look like it's theirs, but it's not theirs. Don't get it twisted. We also talked about you are already your CEO. You better watch your bottom line. And we had some great quotes about the greatest discovery of this generation is that a human being can alter his or her life by altering their attitude of mind. And we talked about death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside of you while you live. So what we're going to talk about a little bit today is conducting a self-performance evaluation and to become more objectively self-aware of your own strengths and weaknesses. Every job, sport, I keep bringing sport up and there's a reason behind that. You have to perform a self-evaluation because, see, you got to do a pair comparison because your view of yourself and your performance is objective. You need it to be subjective. And what I mean by that is that you need to compare yourself to another individual that is living the quality of life that you desire, deserve, and dream about. I ask folks, at the beginning of this podcast, if you're currently living the life that you desire, deserve, and dream about. If you're not, hopefully our discussions will help you fix that. And if you are, please send in those topics to fillyourownvoid@gmail.com. And we want to practice those same things, principles and laws and facts that will help us enjoy those things and flow through life with that same calm, cheerful assurance. What we got to understand that the grass is only green on the other side because typically or usually the other individual takes better care of their lawn. So with that being said, let's jump into the sports thing. I'm going to just rattle off a few things and you guys can see who you think this particular individual may be. And we'll go from there. This person, well, let's talk about 1999. And we're talking about the discipline of football on this particular one. On this particular episode in football and collegiate football that went on into an NFL career. This individual in 1999 was the AP Player of the Year. He won that award. I would give this away by putting his conference in there, but I'll just say in 1999 he was Offensive Player of the Year. In 1999, Consensus All-American. He's going to have to tell me who the Dork Award is. I probably butchered that. I'll leave this last one out because you're going to know exactly who the gentleman is. 1999 Maxwell Award. I bump it. 1999 Heisman winner. Voted number one, first round Heisman voting in 1999. 1999 Walter Camp Player of the Year Award. Man, let me stop. Let me welcome Wisconsin's running back, the Great Dane, and anybody that went to the University of Wisconsin as a Badger rode the Dane train. Welcome, Ryan. What's going on, big guy?
Not much, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you joining. A lot of folks was wondering, man, can he get anybody iconic on? And I know there's a big debate about who's the best running back ever collegiately. And I know you probably got your opinion on that. And I know that a lot of folks do. So what are you kind of hearing as far as rumblings when you kind of, just continue to travel through the airport, seeing people wearing the 33, and who's the greatest running back of all time? What's your opinion on that?
Oh, man, it's kind of neat to still hear people bringing me up because I do have the most rushing yards in college history, so I don't know if that's, it's like I'm like second in a couple awards, which I got more yards than, so it's kind of, it makes me excited that people still kind of go back and look and be like, oh, Brian Dane, he was one of the top guys, you know what I'm saying? So that's one thing that kind of keeps me going. And then my boys are in school, and just being able to watch them play and being at the school, university, and watching them play each week keeps me in sports, man. Keeps me going.
I understand. And one of the cool things is that, your jersey was officially retired against the Michigan team back in 2007, November 10. Bear with me because I got, when I looked up all your information I did not know, everything came up. It's crazy, Great Dane. It's crazy, Great Dane. So I understand that you are also in the University of Wisconsin-Madison's Athletic Hall of Fame. Along with some super duper duper stars, NFL player Joe Panos, in LB pitcher, Major League Baseball Thornton Kipper. This is crazy, man. I mean, how do you keep that humble attitude about you?
It's still kind of crazy for me because of the fact that I still be kind of winning awards and stuff, and I'm like, what? I ain't played no sports. I ain't did this. I haven't did anything. And I'm still winning awards, but I guess it's more of just longevity awards now. But it's just amazing to see people still like, yo, you one of the best running backs I've ever seen. I wish you'd have went to this team in NFL. So I'm hearing that when I go around and seeing different people like, man, you still like you can play. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, man. I just got some more grade, but I still got to run and chase my boys.
And we're going to get into that because a lot of folks don't know that Dane gene or DNA, but your kids, like I said, we're going to reserve that, but they are amazing athletes in their own right. So one of the questions that came in, and this is from a gentleman that I used to work with, and I have several Wisconsin fans. He wanted to know, I'd like to know, and I'm going to read it verbatimly, quote, I'd like to know about the atmosphere in Camp Randall. Where's the toughest place he ever played? And I'll just leave it at those two. How was the atmosphere in Camp Randall, and where was the toughest place you ever played?
Okay, well, the atmosphere in Camp Randall is amazing, man. we got to jump around. So when people hear that, they start going crazy. We even had other team jumping around.
Oh, snap.
So they jumping around like they enjoying getting beat by us, but we just pumping it up because we're winning.
Right.
And then I would say when I was at school, probably the toughest place to play at was, I would say, Iowa, because they could touch you.
Right.
Like, they could touch you from, like, you come out and sit on the sidelines, they can actually touch you from the
the fans?
Yeah. So.
Oh, okay.
I had to stay up in the front by the coaches the whole game, so you never really get to sit unless you want to let people keep hitting you on the head and touching you.
Oh, right. And you were the greatest of all time, so people wanted to touch you up.
Yeah.
So, I kind of opened up this episode. Well, I didn't I did. I opened up the episode of, the accomplishments and awards back in 1999. And it sounds like it was just basically a sweep of pretty much every award in that season. So one of the folks that sent in a line of questioning was, of all of those awards, which one means most to you?
I would probably have to say the Heisman, because of the fact that it was a team goal. It wasn't even the goal that I set for myself. Usually I set my goals each year and like, I want to get 1,000 yards by such and such. I want to get 1,000 yards by 4 games. So I didn't. That year, coach came out and, when we first got to college, well, not college, but to our camp, he made 3 goals, and one of them was to win the Heisman. So, the team went with it, and it was a big thing because it was his team. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody was fighting for it.
And it's interesting you say that because, I remember a conversation we had briefly, and you were telling me that coach was whiteboarding the goals. And, and that's one of the big things that we talk about on this particular podcast is that a man or a woman without a goal is like a ship without a rudder. So, and I think when you talk about fill your own void, that kind of adding those elements back into the sports episode, that's what it's all about. So obviously you guys had a clear vision.
Yeah.
And you mentioned to me during our conversation that basically you were sitting there and they said bring the Heisman home, and then I thought so. You mentioned something about a certain amount of yardage that you didn't even have. That
the three goals. So I didn't get to mention that, but the 3 goals that we had was win the Big Ten, break the rushing record. So I could once we win the Big Ten, we go to the Rose Bowl. So we already knew that. So win the Big Ten, break the rushing record, and win the Heisman.
Now, hold up for those people that it went over their head. Win the rushing record, right? So now you got linemen saying, "Let's win the rushing record." You got special teams saying, "Let's win the rushing record." That's cold, man. I'm getting chills, B. So
it was guys that would be way madder than me if we lost games. It'd be like, oh my goodness, I'm like,
right.
I might be upset, but they'd be really upset. And I'm like, well, that's what I said. It's a team thing, and that was our goals. And then, we might have a bad practice the next week, the first day, because everybody hot, so.
Right.
And I'm like, that's crazy that everybody, I'm like, I didn't get the yards, not y'all,
Yeah.
It's like,
so I just think it's a beautiful thing because when you talk, and I talk about harmony, and harmony is mind, body, and spirit, So when I talk about that harmonious nature of whatever you're doing, and whatever partner you may have, whether it's a sport, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a parental situation like you and I were talking about, us and our kids, you got to be in harmony. And if everybody's got that same energy going in the same direction, then you guys are going to get there. And that's exactly what you guys did. And I'm just looking here, man.
We did it back to back, too. We went to the Rose Bowl back to back.
Rose Bowl, gosh, let me look here. It was so many other bowl appearances.
We was hitting them. It was fun, though. We had a lot of fun because we worked as a team. It wasn't like one guy, even if I like fumbled and everybody like, man, we fumbled. I'm like, no, y'all didn't.
See?
I didn't answer the questions. It was me.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
But we fumbled. We fumbled. That's cold. That is cold, and that's that support system that you need. Who was the hardest hitter that?